Welcome to our 13th episode. Today we have a special topic. We are talking a little bit about regulation, specifically also the MiCAR, which is taking part of an effect already like in 1.5 months. And for this purpose, we have today like Alireza, a very experienced crypto lawyer based in Germany, but active all over Europe, right, Alireza? It's great having you today. And I think like for starters, maybe you can just like explain a little bit how you came in. I remember we have met the first time in 2017 when we were talking the whole night long about what kind of regulations could actually impact crypto. These times are over. I think we have a little bit more legal certainty, and this we will talk about today. Hi, Alireza.
Hi, Tobias, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you about MiCAR because, as you just said, we are looking at the crypto market for a long time, and I think we have anticipated this regulation to come, and now it's coming soon. And just a little bit to my own background, as you just said it, I'm active on a crypto regulation topic within Europe for some time already. I started in 2014 when at that time, I think it was December 2013, when the German regulator BaFin published its first warning towards Bitcoin. And 2 months later, the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, published its paper on virtual currencies. And I, as a young lawyer, was thinking at that time, wow, that's a very interesting topic. And I was always looking for innovative topics. Tried to push on that, but it was too early. So I was looking into that, trying to do something with it. At that time, still with PwC. Stayed there for 5 years. And then fast forward 2017, when all the ICO started, we met Tobias and we founded together Think Block Tank, the Luxembourg think tank. We even set up the whole thing in Luxembourg. We met there. We published a token regulation paper back in the days, covering the entire European countries on token regulation. And then ICOs came. After ICOs, the regulation jumped in Germany, the implementation of the MLD5. I did more and more on crypto, left PwC, joined a UK law firm, helped the first crypto player Coinbase to get the license in Germany. And for 4 years, I'm now with Eneton, heading the crypto practice there. And I'm fortunate enough to say that more than 90% of my work is related to crypto. Very exciting times also now after the halving, it's still going on. And very interesting things coming. Also with respect to MiCAR, we're going to talk about payment instruments and other things, tokenization of real-world assets, and also lots of things happening with the blockchain technology, lots of new things.
Yeah, absolutely. Super. Thank you very much for this background also on yourself. I did not realize that you're already like advising or tried to advise at least in 2014-15. That's very, very, very early. But I remember the times in 2017, of course. So let's get a little bit into the topic. I think we wanted to discuss MiCAR today, and I think there's still a lot of uncertainty because there are so many also undetermined terms in the MiCAR which require interpretation. I counted by chance today like how often like the word significant, which is not very very clear, comes up. I think it's like 380 times or something like that. So I think there's a lot of room for interpretation. But maybe you can just explain where we are right now in the process of applying actually already like the requirements and how it goes further, and where you see like the biggest need and the main problems right now in the MiCAR transposition, also when you look at your clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are fortunate enough, I mean, you, Tobias, and Arnab, that we were participating in the first draft of MiCAR when we are active with INATBA. I was even on the board of INATBA and in the so-called MiCAR working group, helping the European Commission to improve the MiCAR text. Back in the days, I think we published over 270 pages giving recommendations on what to improve. So by saying this, you see that the work was done very early, but I would say we are still not done. We're still not done. And the reason for that is that the MiCAR is covering too much. It covers the stable coins like the e-money token, the asset reference token, and it covers the traditional crypto ecosystem, which is cryptocurrencies and utility token. And the thing is that not that many people understand it, but the MiCAR is effective already since last year, since June last year. However, the application of the MiCAR has a two-lined approach. So the first part of the MiCAR, everything covering the stable coins like the e-money token and asset reference token, will be applicable from 30th of June this year, and the remaining part will be applicable from 30th of December. However, we have something which is called a transitional regime, which says that if you look at Article 143, paragraph 3, which says that basically if you have done or if you provided your crypto asset services in line with your law on the jurisdiction where you're located, let's say you're in Germany or you're in Austria and you provide some kind of crypto services which either need a CASP or VESP registration, or in Germany a license, or maybe does not need a license at all, like portfolio management of crypto assets in Austria doesn't need a license. So if you provide that services by the application date, which in that case it's also a little bit awkward because they chose the 30th of December, not 30th of June, but they say until the 30th of December. So if you do provide your services and you do it in accordance with your domestic law, you're allowed to continue providing your services for 18 more months without the need to get the license. So these kind of rules, I'm just picking some of these rules to show you how complicated things are, make it for the market players. When I say market players, I mean not just the CASPs and the customers, but even the regulator itself, very difficult to be comfortable with MiCAR, because MiCAR is very comprehensive and complex. And what I don't understand is why we have the stablecoin regulation, like e-money token and asset reference token, kicking in first, and the I would say less tough regulation on utility token and cryptocurrencies coming later. The only explanation I have for that, if you look back historically, the MiCAR regulation was brought in also to stop Facebook with their initiative at that time, Libra and then Diem, to provide their services in an unregulated environment. They were very successful because they forced them to leave the European Economic Area and going back to the US, and no one really knows what happened to that. But I was hoping, and I was really expecting that the European regulator would make a turnaround and say, okay, it's other way around, or at least the stablecoin regulation comes later, so aligned together with the cryptocurrency regulation from the 30th of December. So why do we have it now? But we have it now, and since we have it now, and this is what I said already from the beginning, what I said already in 2014 and again in 2020, the market follows the regulation. And this is very important. Pay attention to it, because if you look at the market now, you can see that stable coins and all this payment token are coming out like mushrooms from the ground because the regulation is there.
That's a very interesting viewpoint, because that would have been exactly my next question. Why do you think what is happening now with all these stables kind of pumping up? I think, like, of course, economic background is probably, but maybe I'm wrong, it's like taking some part of the cake of Tether, because maybe they will expect that Tether is not going through the regulation, but this is like something completely unclear. This is Tether has to pronounce on that, but probably they all come in and want to have part of the big cake. They expect Tether is leaving here in Europe, or maybe you see also different reasons for this regulation perspective. It's also very interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, precisely, Tobias, what we see now in the European Economic Area. And I can tell you this also as an advisor, because I advise lots of projects which are maybe still in stealth mode, but they're coming. There are lots of payment token. I call it payment token coming. Why? for two reasons. One is the MiCAR. So the MiCAR regulation is allowing the issuers and the offerers as well as the CASPs to do something with stablecoins. The second reason, which is very much important, is that as we understand it, I think, Tobias, you were also participating in this open hearing with the German parliament when we were talking about the euro, the digital euro, like the CBDC, and where the European Central Bank announced, was a couple of months ago, that for the retail CBDC, so for those digital euro, which is used for the B2C business, there will be no digital euro on the blockchain. So this was very surprising, and I think this was actually the moment where the market realized, okay, this is a gap which we can fill. So if the European Central Bank is not going to issue its own blockchain-based currency, we can do that, and we as a market participants are in the best position. Why? That's also very interesting from a strategic perspective. If you look at the e-money token and the asset reference token, not everyone is allowed to issue it. For the e-money token, you must be an e-money institution. For the asset reference token, it would be perfect if you would be a bank. Yeah. So banks and e-money institutions are allowed to do so anyway, and therefore they actually have an advantage. So if you're a bank or if you're an e-money institution, why not issuing your own token? Yeah. And I said a payment token because what we have not inside the MiCAR, but which is also coming, is a deposit token. If you look at the deposit token, and if you look, for example, at players like JP Morgan with the JP Morgan coin, this is something very interesting. You issue a token which actually reflects, I call it a doppelganger, your deposit on a bank account. So the bank can issue a token as its own deposit money, and keep the fiat money on the account, give it to the central bank, get interest or work with that money, invest it and do whatever they want. And we as the customer, we get a token, and we can use that token for transferring it, and at some point even for paying with it with merchants. And this is a very interesting movement. So besides the e-money token and the asset reference token, which I say they are getting stronger and stronger, we also have the deposit token. And players like Tether, the Tether Foundation, who are very famous for their stablecoins, like the US Tether, they have competitors now, regulated competitors, and at the same time they have to watch out not to fall out of the European Economic Area, because one rule which the MiCAR says is that you need to be located inside the European Economic Area. This is the first thing. The second thing is, if you want to issue your token, you need a white paper, which you would need to notify with the national competent authority. And if it's an asset reference token or e-money token, you have to be an institution, like an e-money institution or bank. So these are very tough rules. And then we have lots of rules on how you're allowed to use the funds you receive from your clients. So as a rule of thumb, e-money token issuers are not allowed to use the funds of their customers. They're also not allowed to pay out any interest. So one may ask, how does it make sense commercially? How can you make profits from that? Now it comes. If you have a significant e-money token, a significant e-money token is treated like an asset reference token. And for asset reference tokens, you're not supposed to keep all the funds in custody. You can keep, let's say, as a rule of thumb, 30% and work with 70%. Yeah. But there are different thresholds, different regulations, very, very complex. So don't take this rule of thumbs as a general rule. Look into the text if you really want to do it. It's not that easy. It's very complicated. And then coming back to your second point, and I think this maybe brings us to the next topic, players like Tether, who do not plan to have a company being registered, located in Europe, and obviously not planning to apply for a license and having their white paper, it could mean that they're out of the European Economic Area, but it could also mean maybe they're going to work with regulated CASPs in Europe and provide their services indirectly. And this is something very interesting, because this brings us to the so-called reverse solicitation. Is that allowed? Can a player who's outside of the European Economic Area provide its services indirectly in the market as a market maker or as a liquidity provider? Because in the end of the day, the Tether Foundation is a liquidity provider. They issue the token, and maybe they are a market maker, or one of their companies is a market maker. And if you look at the market, you can see already, for those who are active in screening the market, the Tether Foundation made a very interesting investment in the NACA group. Some know them also as Go Crypto, who are very active also in Lugano, and who are very active in payment with crypto, a payment provider of crypto. They are now joint venturing with the Tether Foundation and going to offer not just the US Tether as a payment instrument, which is actually a very good instrument if you want to pay with crypto. You shouldn't not use Bitcoin, and also joint venture with Ton, like Ton, the company behind Telegram, with their own coin. And some of you have realized that now when we're recording, yesterday there was the Bitcoin Pizza Day, and some started paying suddenly with Ton and US Tether at the pizza restaurant, just like this.
Yes, that's definitely. But I think you have mentioned like a very important point is like the reverse solicitation, right? How is Europe imagining that it has like its own sole crypto market without anybody allowed to come in from outside of the European Union? It's also very protectionist, I find, and I don't know what all the other reasons are. Apparently, there's also a big fear to lose control. But I think you mentioned that Tether would, for example, or any other player who is not willing, maybe like to be immediately licensed in Europe, providing services out of another jurisdiction, right? And it's used by European players. I heard that basically there might be like a stricter point of view of how you can make use of these players in the future, and I think you have like a good insight into this topic, because I think for me it's mind-boggling how far from reality in the end, like here, like the legislative and maybe like the regulator is thinking, right? But what is your take on that?
Yeah, so what we call reverse solicitation is nothing new. Reverse solicitation is actually a principle or model which exists for more than 25 years. So when we talk about MiFID, for example, the MiFID regulation, the regulation on traditional securities, we have a best practice on reverse solicitation, which was back in the days, again, established by the German regulator and by German case law, because they had a very famous law and a verdict by the court where a Swiss player was providing services to Germany. And basically, when you look at regulation, and this is something very fundamental, regulation cannot just stop people from doing stuff. This is not really working. Because if you look at the laws which apply, we also have fundamental rights of each player. Like me as a customer, I have the right to ask for services. This is a fundamental right I have. Companies have a right to offer services. And such rights can only be limited if there is a reason for that. And this is something where case law and best practice is paying usually attention to it. So in other words, if I want to buy US Tether and I want to use US Tether, and I'm approaching any player by my own exclusive initiative, which means no one is asking me to do so, and no one is inviting me or pushing me to do so. I'm asking for that because I want to have the US Tether stablecoin, because it's a coin which everyone is using. So why should I not do it? So why should the regulator stop me from doing that? And this is the basic idea behind reverse solicitation. If a customer or someone is asking a service provider or an issuer for its goods or services on its own exclusive initiative, the regulator cannot stop it. They can neither stop me nor they can stop the service provider from doing so. But now we have the issue with blockchain and with crypto, because if you look just at Bitcoin, we do not have borders. We do not have limitation by saying that you can provide Bitcoin services only in Germany or you do it only in Europe. It is cross-border. There is no borders for that. And this is, I think, something where the regulator and also the bodies like the ESMA and EBA and IOPA, so like the European supervisory authorities, have realized that the traditional rules which we have for traditional players like banks and financial intermediaries maybe too less or too loose when we look at the crypto market. Not talking about DeFi, which is even more complex, just talking about cross-border services, cross-border players. And this is actually the benefit and the good in blockchain. You can do a peer-to-peer transaction 24/7 without an intermediary. And this is probably the reason why also customers and users use services which are located outside of the European Economic Area. So we don't really look from a crypto and blockchain perspective at borders. We look at best service, best price, fastest, actually best execution in the end of the day. And so when you just said the regulator, the European regulator and ESMA is more tough, yes, they are more tough. We are right now in consultation going on reverse solicitation on crypto. You can just Google it. And we have some European bodies which have also given their view on that. If you just Google it. But we have also market participants and market player who say that the suggestions made by ESMA, because they're only suggestions, recommendations until now, they're too tough. Why do we actually need a new rule on reverse solicitation when it comes to MiCAR? Why are we not taking the same rules which we have on MiFID? Because one thing which we have, and this is also, again, a rule, is same risk, same rules. If we say that the crypto asset service providers provide the same risk as the traditional players, then we need to have the same rules. We don't need tougher rules. And we should not have discrimination of technology. So MiCAR basically is already itself a discrimination of technology, because if you look, MiCAR is only regulating DLT or similar technology, whilst the German regulation is technology neutral. They actually regulate everything which is electronically stored or transferred, whilst MiCAR is only regulating DLT and similar technology. So with this in mind, what ESMA is doing now with the consultation, they are, in my opinion, they are too tough on the crypto players, on the crypto market, because they're suggesting, for instance, that if you have a player like Tether or some other market makers who are outside of the European Economic Area, this could be also Binance or anyone else, that they're not allowed to provide their services indirectly, even though they don't have any contractual relationship with the customer in Europe. They're not allowed, for example, to be the liquidity provider for a European exchange. And I would ask myself, why are they not allowed to do so? Because if an exchange like a Trade Republic or someone from Europe would come, and they're actually obliged to do best execution. Best execution means they have to look at least 3 market makers for the best price, safest transaction, best interest of their customers. Why they're not allowed to request from, let's say, Kraken or someone who's outside of the European Economic Area, who's not regulated, to get their liquidity from? So why they're not allowed to do so? Because if you think back of what I said in the beginning, if the initiative comes from the request side, so in this case it would be the exchange. The exchange is asking for the crypto assets. Why they're not allowed to ask it from Kraken or someone else to then be able to swap it for their customers? Because the exchange is regulated in Europe. The market makers outside of Europe can't be regulated because you must be located inside the European Economic Area. And so why is this not allowed? In the traditional world, in the MiFID world, this is absolutely normal. You can have access to shares and to bonds and other things which are issued outside of the European Economic Area if you have a regulated player inside the European Economic Area which is distributing the asset. So why is it not allowed for crypto, or why should it be limited in some way? I understand the ratio behind it, because ESMA and the national competent authorities, they're afraid that players like the Tether Foundation, they're just not coming to Europe, they're not applying for a license, but they continue their business because they're issuer of a coin, they're a liquidity provider, and they do it through their partners who are regulated in, I don't know, in East Europe or somewhere else.
Yes, so I guess it's very interesting, and I think like maybe like also the end of this discussion, because I think what we observe, and I don't know how you observe it right now, is in the end, okay, you have actually stricter rules for crypto than for the traditional financial world. And as you know, we for example, as STOKR, we were always saying, okay, we issue like financial instruments under MiFID, and I think it's and financial instruments under MiFID are not captured by MiCAR, right? So these are exempted. So I think like a lot of players also think now, okay, hey, actually we had like some really good rules, and maybe we are not like in a crypto assets. In the end, we are like just like a financial instrument, and at least then we know like the rules around it, and we have more legal certainty than with like these very stringent requirements. But I think closing out here the world, I mean, then with this logic, maybe you could not even buy like an Apple stock in the end, right? So Apple would need to get regulated in Europe when it would issue like a crypto asset, but when it sells its shares, it's not the case. There you see like a huge discrepancy, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had the same thing. So some things which are not allowed to be set up in Europe, we cannot provide it from outside of Europe, like a Bitcoin ETF, for example. This is not possible. We're not talking about this. We really talk about simple assets which you can issue in Europe, or you can issue it outside of Europe. And why should we discriminate those who are doing it outside of Europe? We cannot force everyone to come to Europe and set up their company here and to apply for license, even though the regulator would love to do so, but it's not working. And what we see in the market, many players are already moving out of the European market. So some are going to Dubai, some are going to Abu Dhabi, some go offshore, and just wait until the MiCAR regulation has settled and everything is clear, because as we said in the beginning when we started, lots of the rules inside MiCAR, they're not really clear. And this is also why ESMA is bringing out more and more guidelines and Q&As and so-called level 2 paper. So also monitor what ESMA is doing. They have a very nice webpage and they're publishing lots of stuff. Not everything is evil what they publish, like the consultation paper on reverse solicitation. Lots of things are also very good. Plus we have regulators like the Austrian regulator, the FMA. They have the English-speaking webpage where they publish lots of material on the MiCAR. So also very, very, very nice to look at. Liechtenstein regulator is doing the same. French regulator is doing the same, because we said that the application date is the 30th of December. However, we also said that the transition regime already jumps in now. So everyone who is already somehow regulated as a CASP or as a WASP or as a regulated German player can now already prepare its documents and apply for the license. And that's why I'm saying it again and again. MiCAR is not applicable only in 6 months or 7 months. It's coming now. It is right now happening, and all the market players should prepare themselves as quick as possible. And those who are issuers and offerers, make use of what the law is allowing you to do. I think now it's a very good timing. I think crypto winter is over, and we are in a nice market situation. I can really say that because I'm supporting a couple of ICOs right now happening. And I think MiCAR, if you use it correctly, it can support the business rather than limiting it and stopping it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody who wants to be active in Europe has to dive into this, and obviously it's not easy in the moment to understand all the in Luxembourg, for example, we don't even have like a sort of an implementation. I'm waiting for this every day, but as you say, like we're in the middle of it, so I think like the regulators take their time. Clarifications are promised like for end of the year, and then they would actually apply overnight, right? So I think like the game here, like the regulators and the legislators are playing is not really friendly to the industry, but we have to cope with that, and I think we are very well prepared. And I think when you have a lawyer like Alireza, anyhow, it's always it's good to have like good support in this space, I would say. So any last words from you, Alireza? Very nice talking to you, and I think a lot of good insights we had for our audience.
Yeah, so it was also very nice talking to you. So whoever is watching this, listening to this, You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find our blog, which is called paytechlaw.com. We also have there some publications and some podcasts. And so just drop by, connect with me. And if you see me on an event, stop by and have a coffee.
Sounds great. So, ciao, ciao, everybody, and take care. See you next time.